How's it going, everyone? We are back with another weekly watch list after last week being off because I was not going to be trading last week. Only day I traded was Tuesday because I was traveling. So we're going to get into it. So right here on this watch list, and first thing I want to say is I am exhausted. I had a red-eye flight last night that I did not sleep on, so I feel horrible, and that was after being on the West Coast time all week and just being off schedule, not getting great sleep. So, nonetheless, we're preparing for the week ahead in the market and going to get 12 hours of sleep tonight, but definitely want to get this watch list out there for sure. So, obviously, Friday was a madness, right? Big sell off, everyone freaking out, losing their portfolios, yada, yada, yada. No, I'm just kidding. Like, if you lost your entire portfolio on Friday or 90% or whatever, all this crazy stupid shit I'm seeing on Twitter, you were not invested in the right things. So, all right, let's get into it. QQQ, lots of levels here. All right, I'm going to be using a bit more levels than I usually do moving forward. Okay, I usually am just a big previous day high, previous day low, pre-market high, pre-market low guy. But I'm going to start looking on the 1 hour and 4 hour more often and marking those levels there as well. Something that I did used to do. So as you can see here, especially on a big drop like this on Friday, I don't just want previous day high, previous day low. That would be massive $30 range. So we do have our previous day high, we do have our previous day low. First thing I'm going to look for is for the EMAs to get reclaimed, and whether if they're bullish, get back above the EMAs, 13, 48, 200 and VWAP. And I will look for calls over these levels here, and ideally up to this weekly supply zone first, because on QQQ, the first thing we have is Fame with SPY. We're going to see how real it is just because that drop was just tariff news, but we do have a weekly supply, so I'm going to watch the wick and the open of that candle. So going back to the hourly here, I am going to be watching if we do get a rejection in here between 596 and 599. I will not be taking longs in between these levels here, okay? If we get above 599, I'll look for price to get back up over 601.39 for calls, taking it up to 607 and 613, of course. If we keep selling off or we keep rejecting, I'll simply just look for retests here at 594, under the previous day low, under 601. Like, I'll look for retests in these areas and wait for the EMAs to align. Simple as that, right? Key levels, key zones, EMA alignment, that's what I'm focused on. I've been trading a lot of supply and demand recently as well, and I honestly just have not been great at trading it. I've always done much better with the break and retest of key levels with full EMA alignment. And the reason I've struggled with it is simply just because the EMAs and VWAP are not aligned when you take supply and demand. It's literally and technically a reversal play, and I just have not been having high success rate with them at all. And it's really bringing down my win rate, my RR, and it's just not my best setup. So I'm going to be focusing more on just break and retest of key levels and zones with the EMAs aligned. Simple as that. So anyways, over to NQ, very similar look, okay? We came down and bounced this daily gap area, so that's going to be my first area to watch. Let's see where the futures open up tonight. We have our previous day low here. Again, simple as that. I'm looking at these levels. I'm going to watch for these levels. If we get over 24,608 here, EMA's aligned, I'll watch calls up to 24,921. Simple as that. We could watch for a reject there. That looks like a good area as well. It was a key zone. It's also 25,000. I could see us moving back up here for a reject as well, okay? I do want to double check if we have that weekly. So we do have that weekly supply here on NQ as well. So let's go ahead and mark that out. Low here of 24,63325. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's go here. We'll go weekly. Oh, there we go. Just want to mark it out. And then we, of course, will mark the open of that as well. So we'll duplicate that and go to the open. And the open is 24726.5. 726. Wow, that's way off. 726.5. And there's our open. All right. So that's going to be our weekly supply here. So we go back to the hourly. So again, I'll watch calls over the previous day low to take it up to a reject in this area here. So I'm going to mark this out as this whole zone here, this weekly supply. It's like, here's one of the problems I'm running into. It looks like a great zone. Support, turn to resistance, it's weekly supply, it's another key level, blah, blah. The only thing is, if we're up here and we're over the EMAs and everything, it's not aligned. It's what I mean by that is we have a bullish EMA alignment, and then you'll be coming up here, we'll retest this area, and you'll be looking at shorts. And simply just what happens is you just more times than not have not been getting good moves and just barely getting a 1-to-1 R trim and then break even stop on the rest, or just stopping out and because you're bouncing off the EMA. So I just haven't been liking the reversal plays as much with the supply and demand. I'd rather use them if they're already aligned with a previous day high or previous day low. So like say there was, we have supply up here at the previous day high, then and in a line there's supply up here in that zone, then that would be a higher area for me. But since this is right in the middle of this zone, it's not as high probability for me. All right. So anyways, nonetheless, I'm not yapping about that. These zones I'll have on NQ. The only thing that's concerning me here is this level right here. That seems a little bit. I moved it down so for this wick of this candle here, right? So this level here. We'll keep it, but I do like this a little bit better, but we'll keep it just because of the wick here. I might change that later. I'm undecided because I made these levels on, I believe, Friday. So now that I'm reviewing it, I'm like, kind of like that better. Let me see how that looks. We move it up here. Do you think I like that a little bit better? It also lines up. Yeah, I like that better. It lines up with that the weekly supply. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep that there. All right, we'll keep that weekly supply. So let's go over to SPY. So very similar look on SPY. We bounced the 646.15 zone. We have the 650.58 zone as well. We ripped through as well. So something like that. Yeah, like I'll keep it on the chart. Excuse me, because it was a nice level on the 4-hour here. I'll keep it on the chart and say in case we get any other action there. But we are under the previous day low for now. We'll see where futures open up. Already getting a reject off of it. But reclaim the previous day low, get over the EMAs. I'll watch calls, up to these targets here, right? And see if we reject along the way or whatnot, right? We have the same weekly supply as well. So Monday's really going to be like Monday, Tuesday. It's such a large zone. So like Monday, Tuesday is going to be like a day to like kind of set up the chart a little bit better. And then if we go over to ES, same thing, previous day low. We'll see where the futures open up. I imagine we might gap up, especially with Trump kind of walking back the tariffs just a little bit. And then we have just simple key levels. It's really that simple, right? Like these were key levels I already had on my chart. We ripped through them, so I'm keeping them on there just because they really didn't get a true retest or anything like that. If we stay under the 65.91 and 6600, I'll watch shorts. If we get back above, I'll watch calls with EMA alignment up to this first main reject area, which is the weekly supply at 6,700. All right. Let's go over to SPX. Very simple, just previous day high, previous day low. I actually did not update SPX, so I'm going to keep that off the camera for now. I will update that later. All right, AMD, that is updated though, right? So we had this really nice zone here above 200, 201 to 206. It held really, really nicely. So I'll be watching that area for a bounce. If we break below, I'll be watching shorts down to the previous high, the former weekly and yearly high of 186. That would be a pretty big shame though for that massive gap up on AMD and pull back that far, but we'll see. Not really that big of a shame, I guess, but it just seemed, it would be a little bit sad, I feel like. But anyway, so previous day low, reclaim the previous day low, move back up to this previous all-time high, 229 zone, and the previous day high, and then above that to 240 and the all-time high. All right, let's go over to Tesla. So Tesla, first thing I'm looking at, previous day high, previous day low. All right, with this zone in the middle here, this daily, it was a daily supply, right? So we do have daily supply on Tesla. So I am going to be watching that. If we get above the previous day low, I'll look for a reject between 426 and 431, and look for a move back down to previous day low. If we get over it, I'll be watching for calls up to 443. All right, we do have this daily gap and 4-hour demand down here, right? So I am not interested in shorts unless we get below 396, right? So we have this really strong 4-hour demand. We already bounced out of once here. It's a beautiful looking demand. Bouncing out of it here again. If we get below this daily gap 396, then I'd be interested in puts. And honestly, if we get below this daily gap, it's a straight shot down to 370. So we'll see what happens. Let's go over to Apple. So Apple, man, Apple disappointing for sure. I was hoping for an all-time high breakout here. I even had a swing watch list going on. to see if we get a break out of this, and we just dumped out of it, obviously, with Friday. So, it is what it is, not a big deal, but it was really nice compression right under this all-time high, and we ended up breaking down, right? So we have weekly supply as well on Apple, so that's 253 to 254.56. I'll be watching that area for a reject because it is up near that previous day high zone. Outside of that, my next key level is 251.7 to 251. And then down underneath below that, 243.96. So I'll be looking at shorts underneath the previous day low. I'll be watching calls back up to these zones here, right? So again, just looking at this zone here, it's not a previous day high or low, but it was a nice support area. So we come up here, maybe reject, support turn resistance. That could be a nice play, right? So I'm just, with these key levels and zones, the additions that I'm making to them, I'm just giving myself potentially more opportunities to take my best setups, which are break and retest with EMA alignment, all right? And then lastly, NVIDIA, same story, Friday, disgusting sell-off type of deal. We came down and filled the daily gap, so that was nice to see. So it came down. Oh, sorry, we did not fill. Oh, we did, but it was after market. So we did come down and fill the daily gap post-market. We're bouncing that there. First area to watch is previous day low. Above that, I'll be watching calls up to 186.54. Potentially reject here, potentially reject to 188.12. Again, they'd have to get back under the EMAs because by this point, EMAs would be aligned bullish. We would need to reject and get back under them for a move back down to previous day low. But we also have daily supply on NVIDIA as well. Very nice looking supply zone underneath the previous day high. So that would be my first reject area. If we can push up over these zones, I'd watch for a reject up here at 191.5, 192.23 specifically, okay? And again, it's like, if we get A plus confirmation, of course I'm gonna have to try the trade, even above the EMAs. And I've had supply and demand trades that are not aligned with, the EMAs and work out. I'm just looking to take less of them, okay? I've just not been as successful with them, and I've always been. If you literally look at my playbooks on TradeZella and you look at supply and demand, you look at my break and retest with EMA alignment, one is green and one is red. Simple as that. Like, I like the supply and demand trades because it's a very fundamental, foundational part of stock market trading. So I'm going to keep it aligned, keep it in there. I just would like to see it more aligned with other key levels. So for what was it, Tuesday? I had 2 losing trades on SPY, I think, SPY or QQQ. Might have been QQQ. There was a demand zone, and it was like Thursday or something, or no, sorry, it was Tuesday, and it got A plus confirmation, so it took the trade twice. It just didn't follow through, and it was in the middle with the previous day high and the previous day low, so it was like a range type of trade, and just the EMAs were not aligned. We ended up just trending down and down and down, bouncing off the EMAs all the way down, so rejecting off of them. So we'll see. Again, making tweaks as we go, right? Nonetheless, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribing, or sharing the video. It would mean the absolute world to me. Nonetheless, I am wishing you all a blessed and successful week inside and outside the market, and I'll see you all in the next watch list. Peace.